Oh snap, got me a little competitor to my Ibex over there. This is gonna be a good day. What's going on, guys? Chaseontwowheels here in front of Mountain Motorsports in Roswell, Georgia. In front of me, I have the 2023 KTM 890 Adventure, which is a pretty stout competitor to my Ibex 800T over there. So today's going to be a super interesting video. We'll talk all about it. I do want to note before we get started that for whatever reason, KTM sent this to Mountain with the R model screen. The regular screen is going to be a lot taller and have a little hole cut in it. We can talk about all that, but I did want to note that right off the get-go. But yeah, it's first ride. Let's see what it looks like and see what it sounds like. Alrighty guys, that's what it looks like and that's what it sounds like now. This video is not sponsored, but it is supported by WBRgarage.com. That's my website where I am currently building a 2018 Yamaha R6. I'm turning it into an R6M. It's going to be absolutely sick, and once I get done building it, I am going to give it away. So if you guys want to win a motorcycle, you can go to over WBRgarage.com. You can either get a membership, which will get you early access to videos, or you can get some merch. And once you do any of that stuff, the website will automatically put you in the system and give you those points. So if you guys want to win a motorcycle, it is an awesome opportunity and you can do it for super cheap. If you're already a member, thank you guys so much. It supports the show and everything we do here on this channel so much. So thank you guys who are already supporting. Let me know if you're a member in the comments down below. It is time to get on this 890 Adventure. After I get my phone on the quad lock. If you guys need a phone mount, by the way, quad lock sponsor the show, and that means I got you a discount. Take the description if you guys want to get a discount on those quad locks. I wouldn't trust my phone on anything else. I'm kind of interested here. I'm extra interested. I'll put it that way. I'm always interested to do a first ride. But I'm extra interested today because that is my ADV bike. Get out of my video. God dang it. Thank you. Alright guys, so I'm super interested in this video specifically because that is my ADV bike. That's my Ibex 800T, which is a cousin to this bike, so it's pretty interesting. Let's get on it and let's find out what this thing's all about. Alright, look at the screen. Super nice screen. So guys, one thing I noticed, this is a very short bike. I was able to throw my leg over this bike super simply. Didn't even have to do the regular ADV get on to the motorcycle. As you guys can see, I am 5'10", and got 32-inch inseam, and I've got my regular riding boots on today, and I can just barely get my feet on the ground, which is interesting because throwing my leg over it felt kind of short, but the seat's kind of wide to get my feet down, so that's kind of interesting. We do have modes on this bike, and I am going to put this thing into, where is it? Riding mode. So we've got street, rally, off-road, rain, back to street. I'm going to leave it. I'm going to get it in rain mode. We'll change it as we go. Also, guys, if you're a fan of motorcycles, which I imagine you are watching this video, you might want to check out our Discord server. We got a Discord server full of motorcycle enthusiasts just like yourself. It's a cool place to hang out with other like-minded individuals that like the same stuff you do. So check it out if you're one of those Discord people. We'll have a link for you in the description, like we have for everything. All right, let's take it off. The maiden voyage. Holy shit. That, I did not expect to get that in rain mode. Okay, duly noted. All right, guys, we're here on the 2023 KTM 890 Adventure. This is a regular model. This is actually an interesting bike to be on because KTM just recently, a couple years ago or a year ago, just released the 890 Adventure. So I don't even think this is a mid-cycle refresh. This is, you know what it really feels like? It feels like KTM put out the 890 Adventure and they're like, dang, we're getting a lot of feedback, we need to make that thing better, and then they came out with this guy and they just full sent it. So kind of an interesting situation. But this is the first ride. Let's talk about the body position. So guys, we got a relatively hard seat today, a little harder than I would expect a adventure bike to have. As far as body position goes, my legs are back a little bit more than I would expect them to be, and my arms are draped down a little more. For an adventure bike, I expect to be kind of upright, and I am upright, but I expect my arms to be up a little higher. And I've got to say, the body position that I'm in makes this bike feel so small. It's very strange. I'm looking forward to continuing this ride and really digging into that. So far, really comfortable, but I do wish the seat was a little softer. And from what I'm told, the seat is actually an updated seat. They changed the seat and added a little bit of foam. So the original 890 must have been a hard boy. So it's going in the right direction. I could definitely see them doing a little more to the seat. I don't like how thick the seat is. The bike feels so tiny, and I don't know if it looks like tiny to you guys, but I want to get my feet on the ground and I can only adjust. So, while we're at the shred light, let's go ahead and change the rider mode. Rain's cool. Love rain, love the option of having rain. Also, while we're stopped, guys, look at the street thing. You get rain on the road, you get off-roady stuff, you get sand in rally mode, and you get a street in street mode. I think KTM is listening. They're really modifying their screen, and we'll talk about the screen later, but good job, KTM. I see what you're doing, and I appreciate it. Actually, I want to show you guys something else I noticed while we've got this red light. Look at that. So that's traction control, so you can see that the wheel's not going to be moved. KTM's doing good stuff. All right, guys, so we are now in street mode on the 890 Adventure. And if I didn't tell you guys from the beginning of the video, I know this is an ADV style motorcycle, but this first ride is going to be street only. Things to know. That's the woo! That's what I like. Well, that's the excitement that I want out of a motorcycle. I love that. Street mode feels good. I can tell there's a little bit of a power bump from street mode. It's not like a night and day situation, but it is definitely noticeable. I do have a quick shifter on this bike, and we need to talk about that later in the video. That's going to be a big topic of conversation. So guys, as we're here on the this thing has got some power. As we're on the street here, let's talk about how it's composed on the street. As you guys know, KTM, or you might know, down there, this little bulge, that's actually the gas tank on this bike. So KTM did this really cool thing with their adventure bikes now, where the gas tank is really low, which is really cool. It adds the center of gravity. It really lowers that. It makes the bike way more easier to control because the center of gravity is so low, especially for off-road situations. That's one of the super cool, super unique things that you get with a bike like this, or with this bike specifically. It is really leading to, this bike is 463 pounds. It's not a necessarily light motorcycle, although I would say for this much power, it definitely is a smaller bike. But it makes the bike way more flickable. I don't think flickable is the right word, because the weight does feel a little lethargic, but it feels like I have a weight down low instead of my weight up high where the bike wants to tip over. Like, I tip the bike over and then it takes a second, almost like a pendulum. I hope that makes sense. It's kind of weird, but I can imagine if I was in an off-road scenario, which I really wish I could be in this video, I think it would be absolutely fantastic. But for road use, it's almost like, you know, like you have a kettlebell and you're holding it, and if you tried to wiggle it, your arm would go sideways and then the weight would swing. That's kind of what this feels like. It's not necessarily bad. I'm not saying that. It's just different. And different is always, like, you know, it piques my interest when it's a little different. Speaking of power-wise, this 889cc parallel twin is putting out, I believe, 95 horsepower with 76-ish foot-pounds of torque. Those numbers are relative, and they should be close to what the actual numbers are. which is kind of neat. This bike is putting out decent power, and there's one thing that I can't really get over. That's how small the bike feels. You know, I'm sitting on the bike right now. I get reminded of my WR250, the supermoto I used to have until I throttle it up, and then I am reminded very quickly that this is not a WR250. But the way they have the bike set up, and I guess part of it is because there's no real big gas tank, so there's a lot of clear space here. The bike feels very tiny. I feel very up tall on the bike. You know, I've stood up on the bike just riding it around street just to see what it would feel like, and I do kind of feel hunched over. For you guys that do a lot more off-roading, let me know, would you have to up these handlebars like way high to get in a comfortable position? I'd be really interested to know that from you guys, because obviously I don't have a ton of off-roading experience, but the off-roading I've done, my bars have always been way higher, which is really interesting. I feel like this setup is fantastic for street use, actually. So, you know, where we are right now, I kind of like the handlebars where they are, but I don't know how they would be in an off-road situation. This bike is not worn in yet, and it is still pulling the front wheel up. And if it wasn't for traction control, I would have just wheelied through that intersection. My God, KTM has shoved so much power into such a small package. That is insane. You know, guys, one thing I'm noticing as I'm going through the streets is I feel really stable and really confident because of that low center of gravity. You know, it's like I said, it's kind of weird, but I'm having a enjoyable time kind of just shifting through the gears and getting through traffic. This is actually really fun. So let's talk about something that, you know, as I mentioned, traction control, and we've got cruise control, but we have to talk about something interesting on this bike that I imagine is going to be a big topic for a lot of people, and that is KTM's use of what they're calling demo mode. And every time I turn the bike off or back on, it tells me demo mode done in 960 something miles or something like that. So what KTM has done on this bike is all of the cool rider aids that some people want, some people don't. And what we're talking about is rally mode. We're talking about cruise control, the quick shifter, stuff like that. I'll put a full list here on the screen so you guys know everything. But basically, you can buy this bike just like this. And then the bike for the first, I think, 1,500 kilometers is in demo mode. And you basically get every single one of the electronic upgrades. Then, when you get over that mileage and you turn the bike off, when you turn it back on, it is going to have none of those rider aids until you, I guess, take it back to the dealer and then, you know, you purchase those rider aids and you get them to turn them on. I don't know how I feel about that yet. It's cool that they're already here and it's just getting them turned on. So I love the idea that somebody can get this motorcycle for a little cheaper and they only have to get the electronics they want. But I do still feel a little weird about the bike's already got everything and it's just you got to pay KTM a little more money for it. Something about it doesn't sit right, but you guys let me know in the comments. While you guys doing that, I got a 40 to 80 pull to do. We are on a 2023 KTM 890 Adventure. We are going to see how fast it will go from 40 to 80. On your marks. Hope that's right gear. Get set. And go. God! Traction control, slowing it down. Woo! Holy shit! Did not expect it to go that fast. That was great. Holy snap. Street mode is great. Oh my God, I was in street mode. I could have been in another mode. I don't know, man. I'm good with street mode. That was great. I love that. Woo! All right, let me compose myself for a second. All right, guys, let's talk about highway use on this motorcycle. Now, a huge thing to note is we don't have the stock windscreen. We've got the R windscreen, which is much smaller, so keep that in mind. The regular windscreen is going to be a bit different. I'm getting a lot of wind on my shoulders, and my wind is really setting in right there at my visor. Right now it's not too bad, but my head is bobbling just a little bit. Here on the highway, I will say in 6th gear, we've got plenty of power to navigate through the highway. Yeah, I'm feeling super stable, got no problems with stability here on the highway, which is something I was slightly worried about with the bike feeling a little tiny. But it's holding its own right now. Like I said, we're in demo mode, which means we do have the cruise control. So we pop that to the left, that turns it on, and then down to set it. Yep, works totally fine, like a peach, no problem. And the big test, can I go forward? I can, awesome. Forward on the throttle does deactivate cruise control. That's becoming something I look for more and more in motorcycles. So as far as the vibration here on the highway, I'm getting the slightest amount in the handlebars, the slightest amount in the foot pegs. Nothing I would really worry about. This bike would be absolutely fine touring as long as you had the bigger screen that it comes with. I think this thing would be fantastic. And the other cool thing is that it feels stable, but the handlebars still feel light here on the highway. They don't feel any heavier at all. So really liking this as far as its touring capabilities. What's the red car doing? What the red car doing? Yeah, solid job KTM on the 890 for a, God, that power is fantastic. Fantastic option for commuting or for, you know, even like a bigger tour. The only problem I think you would come into is the seat being a little hard, but there's pretty cheap ways to fix that, so I'm not too worried about that. Mirrors are actually working good. I think they look like crap. I hate the way they look, little Mickey Mouse looking ears, but they seem to be working good. I can see totally behind me, and they're not vibrating too much, so I can actually tell what's back there. Alrighty guys, nice showing for the highway. Let's get her down a little bit and head into our turn as this car parks it up, and get her leaned over. A little lethargic with that lower center of gravity, but I feel super stable, got no problems with that. So this bike is just not one of those bikes that likes getting flicked over. It has that more stable feel, which is a very odd combo with it feeling small. You know what I mean? Those two things don't typically go together, but they are definitely together on this bike. So guys, while we're stuck at a red light, let's do a shout out to our boys over at Cardo. If you guys need a Bluetooth unit, I have one on all my helmets. I would not ride without my Bluetooth units. And Cardo's the best in the business, and I got you guys a discount in the description. If you guys are in the market for one, you will not be sorry, and you're welcome. Thank you, Cardo, for sponsoring the show. All right, guys, let's talk about this engine, and my goodness gracious, this bike is not even broken in, and it's this powerful. I would be terrified to ride one of these after you get an exhaust on it, after you tune it. It has such a grunty, fun amount of power. I really enjoy this power plant a lot. And I think it would only get better with time. Traction control doing everything it can to hold that front wheel down. And now, let's talk about the suspension. You've got WP adjustable front and rear suspension on this bike. Oh my good God, I don't want to be in that lane at all. Bruh, come on, you can't be doing that. So far, suspension has been being fantastic, guys. WP is always a solid option when it comes to suspension. And not only are they adjustable, they have the little click knobs. Can you guys see the click knobs? They've got click knobs in the front and a reservoir that you can just turn for the rear. So very easily can adjust the suspension, which is fantastic for an ADV bike. You know, you ride you ride on road all the way to some dirt roads, and then you can adjust your suspension before you get on dirt. If I can't have electronic suspension, at least I can have that, so that's really awesome. Oh, that power's good. That is too fun. All right, guys, let's talk about the transmission right now. The gearing seems to be really helping out the engine. They've got it set up to where I'm having a fun time revving up through the gears. As you guys can see, once I get to like a chill spot, I'm going 70 in 5th gear. And up until that, I'm just like having fun grunting my way through each gear. I really love the amount of rev you get through each gear. I have noticed that getting the bike into neutral is a little bit of an obscure area. I'm not getting a good like click going into neutral, which makes me get to that point of like, am I actually in neutral or not? That could change over time once the bike has been worn in and stuff like that. So don't take it for too bad. And let's check brakes. Nobody behind me? Goodness gracious! Can you guys tell how hard I'm braking in this video? I don't know if you can tell it in the GoPro, but my goodness, that suspension handled that hard braking really well, though. Hold on, I want to see what kind of brakes we have on here, because my goodness, that was solid. I mean, I got high expectations for KTMs anyway, but that felt like extra good. Of course we get the green when I want to look at the brakes for you guys. Whatever. The brakes feel great, the lever feels great, take it for what it is. They're probably Brembo, knowing KTM, but who knows. All right, guys, let's talk about the controls up front here on the 890 Adventure, the new 2023. So we got a cool D-pad. Love the controls and how you use them with the screen. One of the notes I will say is that I do have a little higher expectation from a KTM as far as how the buttons feel. I'm getting clicks and all that kind of stuff, but guys, this bike is 14 grand. It is not a cheap motorcycle, and the buttons feel like a less quality Yamaha. And with KTM being a more premium brand, I do have that expectation of the buttons to feel a little more premium. But like I said, they've worked fine. I've got no problems with that. It's just if I'm going to pay extra money, I want that extra experience. And the actual quality of the physical button, I'm not getting that quality of experience. Next up, let's go to the levers. We've got adjustable levers. They are silver. I would love them to be black, but at least they work fine. I get good feel from them. I get good feel from the shifter. So the controls feel good. I just wish the quality was up, not necessarily on the levers though. Moving on to this screen. This screen is fantastic. I think KTM is doing a phenomenal job. I love that their modes, you're getting like an actual animation, not really an animation, but a graphic that makes it very simple to find out what you're changing. So I love the direction KTM is going for that. This is probably one of the better screens and user interfaces I've seen on a KTM. To get to the rider modes, it does take a little bit of time, but if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure that in the past, KTM allows you to map buttons. So you might be able to map like the down arrow to automatically go into your rider mode. Hopefully that's in the screen information somewhere. I haven't had the time to dig through that today. But if you could do that, that would be fantastic. The interface on the screen is great though. KTM's doing great there. Could not give them more props for that. That's kind of what I expect out of a premium brand, is a really nice user interface, and I definitely get that here. One of the weird things, I will say that could be a personal thing. You guys can let me know if you care about it in the comments down below, but when I put a blinker on, I'm going to put a blinker on just for shits and giggles, I only get one blinker indicator letting me know that both blinkers are going. I want to know if my left blinker or if my right blinker is going. I can't stand the dual blinker button. Is it a big deal? No. Do I care about it way more than I should? Yes, absolutely. So you guys let me know in the comments, does that matter to you? And guys, up here we have our walk around, and this new model looks a lot different. So this is a pretty big deal. I'm gonna get pulled off here and do a little walk around of the bike so we can check it out and see what you guys think about it. Yeah, see, the bike doesn't want to go into neutral. It just pops straight to second. That's the only weirdness with this bike, and that's with the clutch all the way pulled in. Alrighty, guys. KTM 890 Adventure. This is not the R model. So this is the big gas tank that I was telling you guys about. This is another modification. It's got the new protector down here, which it definitely needs. One of the huge things that KTM changed with this bike, let me show you guys the old 890 Adventure. Here, I'll do this. You guys can see this one and the new one over here. So as you guys can see, new fairings, they got a fairing up here. So basically with that head that used to just kind of sit off on its own, they've kind of brought the fairing up to meet it, which I think you wouldn't think such a tiny little change would change so much. It changes this bike entirely, if you're asking me. This is a phenomenal looking adventure bike. The other bike just looked unfinished, and it looked like if you hit a hard bump, the head would just pop off. A KTM looking engine, like, you know, that's a very typical KTM look. The exhaust is very meh. I really wish this was more of like a dark gray, just in case you don't want to have to get a different one. But a lot of you guys are getting new exhaust anyway, so probably no big deal there. The tail actually looks very good. I love the angle of the tail. I love that they already have like a rack here on the back for luggage or something like that. Most people that get ADV bikes are going to get luggage. This bike does have these brand new tires, these Scorpion Rally STRs, which are a good road tire, but you can see that they actually have a little more groove. So from the dealer, you're going to be able to take this on some off-road, which the other bike didn't have as knobby of tires. So that's really cool. Overall, I think KTM is going down the right direction with this bike. I think looks-wise, it's fantastic. Love what I'm seeing here. And I do know that the seat got modified, so more padding or something like that. It looks way more like an ADV bike, not some weird little amalgamation bike. This kind of has that, what is it, like buff look, which I really, really like a lot. I think it's a great looking bike, even though it does look very wide from this perspective. All right, guys, I'm going to grab my phone off the quad lock and film some vertical content for you guys. If you guys aren't following us over on TikTok and Instagram, we are at Pics on Instagram, and we're at Chaseontwowheels on TikTok. Make sure to go follow us and check this content out. But for now, I got to film it. All right, guys, that is all of the vertical content. Going to get the phone back on the quad lock. We got a steering stem lock test, and then purchase or pass, and who is the bike good for? So the ADV stand on the bike, guys, is typically stand here, swing around. Oh, let's see if it does the thing where it tells me demo mode. No. Earlier it did. Transport lock, cool. All right, guys, we got a steering stem lock test. All the way to the right. We are here. We got a pretty hardcore turn going on. Ugh. Solid work in the top 5. I love ADV bikes for how much steering lock you have. It allows you to get into such better angling through tight turns and stuff like that. Solid job on these bikes. Alrighty, guys, do I purchase or pass on the 890 Adventure? So, guys, as far as purchase or pass on this bike, I would say you get a lot of stuff in a very premium package for the 14 grand you're going to pay for this bike. The only thing that I don't know is how much do the modifications cost? Because you guys know me, I have to have cruise control. I would really love to have a quick shifter, and from what I'm told, rally mode is definitely something I should check out. So if I were to buy this motorcycle, I'd probably be getting all of the technology stuff. So I wish I knew how much this bike would cost if I got everything on it. Because remember, that something that this thing is competing with is Ducati's Desert X. Ducati's Desert X is only $1,000 more, and it comes with all of that stuff. So I'm not really sure, because like KTM ain't cheap. I imagine they're going to cost a couple $100 a thing. From what, as long as you only have to pay one time, I don't think I really care about it, the whole like buy to upgrade thing. But if you got to pay some monthly thing, I would lose all of my shit. But overall, would I purchase or pass? If I'm looking for a premium motorcycle to do ADV riding and all types of riding, this is definitely a contender. I will say, I think I prefer, because you guys know we have a Desert X in the shop right now. I do think I prefer the Desert X, and the main reason is because this feels like, at least from riding it right now, it feels like a street motorcycle that I could do off-road on, whereas the Desert X is it feels much bigger. It feels like I'm way taller off the ground, and it just gives me the vibe of like I could run that thing through the apocalypse. Whereas this thing makes me feel like and keep this in mind, this thing is way more capable off-road than I'll ever be. So just, you know, factor all that in with what I'm saying. But this bike just gives me the feeling of like, I could probably go on a couple dirt roads and have a little bit of fun. But once I got into something really serious, I don't know if this thing would really send it through it. Whereas I don't get that vibe on the Desert X. The Desert X, I get that vibe of like, hey, look, whatever's in front of you, we're going over it, around it, or through it. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. But for me, I think I might be pass, but only because the Desert X is a phenomenal bike. And if I consider the Desert X like a 9.5 out of 10, I consider this thing like an 8.5. Like, I've really enjoyed this motorcycle. I absolutely have enjoyed every mile. And I don't think it's a bad bike. It's just in a really competitive class is all I'm saying. I do like the throttling way better on this than the Desert X, though. I will say that. Desert X got that weird little dead spot in the throttle up front. But overall, yeah, phenomenal motorcycle, guys. And guys, that's all I got for this first ride on the 2023 KTM 890 Adventure. This is the bike the 890 Adventure always should have been. So KTM, you're making fantastic moves. And before I get out of here, I want to give a shout out to Mountain Motorsports. That's the dealership I started at, and that's where I'm headed now. If you guys are looking for a motorcycle, make sure to check those guys out. They're in the North Georgia area. They got tons of locations, and they have an infinite amount of motorcycles. So definitely check those guys out in the description down below. You can actually get a discount code in the description if you check those guys out. But guys, I'm Chaseontwowheels. What I'm going to do for you guys at the end of the video is I'm going to leave my Desert X first ride here for you guys to check out later. Let me know which bike you would prefer, this bike, the Desert X, or the Ibex 800T. Let me know where you're at in the comments down below. Make sure to put OC because you got to the end of the video. I'm Chaseontwowheels. You guys ride safe, and I'll see you on the next video. Later, guys.